The same people that are championing this are angry at this. OnlyFans models are targeted by online LGBTQA+ whatever mob after posing in underwear with fake bulges. You can't make this up. Okay, so trans women are women, according to these people that are angry about this, right? But women aren't trans women? So you get it. This is what I've been saying for years. Trans women are trans women. I will say that this is absolutely hilarious because I don't think they realize that they're doing this, but they're actually calling out all of the crazy leftist hypocritical bullshit. I thought gender was a social construct, and genitals or lack thereof doesn't define gender. What about gender activists claiming that people don't owe society a specific gender expression? And if that's true, maybe these people are trans men who are just presenting female, but are curing their gender dysphoria. I mean, you don't even need gender dysphoria to be trans in these people's minds, but they're curing their gender dysphoria by putting bulges in their pants. My friend Sarah said, I mean, wouldn't the fact that two women pretending to be trans to make money on OnlyFans show that trans women are desirable? Also hilarious and true. And I thought we were supposed to normalize the bulge.
Normalize the bulge. We are normalizing the bulge.
Normalizing the bulge. That horrendous video, I can't get it out of my head. I think I've seen it exactly one time, and it's ingrained in my memory. I think it's in my DNA at this point.
Normalize the bulge.
I mean, we've seen people faking having Tourette's, a borderline personality disorder, and a ton of other issues on TikTok. I even made a video about it here. Why is this surprising anybody? Being fake trans is totally in right now. I mean, look at people like Josh and Dylan and Lily, even though I think 2 out of 3 of those people are AGPs. People are making money from this. They are making it, bitch. It has become the epitome of a fashion statement and the glorification of body mutilation. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. If you want to support this channel, since a few of my videos are not sponsored, you can always go and check out my merch. This one says, "Make lesbians women again." Link to that is in the description below. This video specifically had been making the rounds a little while back on my X feed. First of all, how the hell did this person do that? Because that's impressive. Second of all, accessorizing your top surgery scars is weird. I believe this was on RuPaul's Drag Race a few months back. Sydney said, so we're clear, this drag queen is a female who identifies as a man participating in a competition that requires dressing as a woman. But in everyday life, this individual wants to be a man. Do with that as you will. And there's been a lot of this going on lately, right? I've been commenting on it for quite some time now. A lot of faking, a lot of lies. And I had to comment on it specifically in an entire video because this is moving us as a society backwards. Specifically, we're seeing more and more of these types of videos that I'm about to show you in a second, saying that you don't need to tell someone that you're dating that you're trans. You don't need to tell someone that you're dating that you're HIV positive. I mean, a lot of these people, honestly, you wouldn't need them to tell you that they're trans, but I digress. But for the trans women and trans men that do pass, stop thinking that hiding yourself is a viable option. For many people, it's become a fetish on top of maybe actually being trans. This person here's entire page is dedicated to post about them having a magic wand. And it's not just trans people that are on this trend of, I don't owe anyone my past bullshit. I know you guys saw this video.
I put HIV positive on my, on my profiles. People don't want to touch you. I remember being on a date with someone. So I brought him back to my place. Was like, okay, I need to tell you something. I'm HIV positive. And I remember he looked at me. It was like I murdered him. I was like, I thought he was going to beat the shit out of me. He was like, I can't believe you wouldn't tell me. And you gave me HIV and was just losing his mind. And I'm like, no, that's not possible. Even if I bled on you, in an open wound, that wouldn't happen. I'm undetectable. And I have diabetes. I have high blood pressure. You're not telling them any of this shit. Where HIV is now, if you are undetectable, you don't necessarily have to disclose that.
One, I can't contract diabetes from sleeping with you. So that's a terrible juxtaposition. I feel like regardless if this is something that I as a lesbian don't have to deal with, this is a major issue for a lot of people that might have to deal with this sort of thing, right? Regardless if you are undetectable now, it might not be that way later, right? You being undetectable only stays that way if you continue to take your medication. So I'm still very much putting my health in your hands. These are things that are not in my power, not in my control. So I personally, if I were dating somebody that had this illness or this virus, I would love to know in advance to potentially stop it before it even starts, right? The narcissism here is unreal. I mean, I tell my girlfriends or people that I'm going on dates with, I tell them that I have an anxiety disorder as soon as possible because I understand that it might not be something that they can or want to deal with or want to handle, even though it's really my issue to handle. It does and can affect people that you're dating, right? They have to be more understanding of your issues. I'm not for everybody, right? And I understand this. This person has an extremely terrible entitlement issue, and it seeps, oh my God, their voice, it's not even the gay voice for me. It's the entitlement and the toxicity in their voice. Tell me I'm wrong. As a society, we went from it's not okay to be yourself, right? Bullying gay kids, telling people that there's no such thing as a trans person, to it's okay to be yourself, it's okay to be trans, it's okay to be effeminate, it's okay to be homosexual or bisexual, back to it's not okay to be yourself, back to hiding very important details about who you are and where you've been, where you're coming from. I'm gonna explain this in a second, just like how we got to this crazy place. But first, I wanna mention that there are actually a ton of people calling out this toxic behavior, so that's great.
The transgender woman on 90 Day Fiancé didn't tell her boyfriend that she was trans until they got in a fight. As a transgender person, do I think she was wrong for doing that? F yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. My advice to any transgender woman who's listening to this is to let the guy know as soon as possible. A majority of people meet online these days. You could just let these guys know online. But what you should never do is get to any physical point with the man and then tell him.
Here's how I think we got to this very toxic position. After having figured it out, we realized that it is indeed okay to be born trans, born homosexual. We had the rise of the anti-bullying movement, right? There were tons of not-for-profits against bullying, tons of these educational programs online and in schools. We had tons of LGBT content creators, to major brands and parades backing our voices, to LGBT people or allies of LGBT people exposing others for being actually homophobic and actually transphobic and being canceled for that because the majority of Americans at that point were on board with it. But now the queer kids have become the bullies. They have gotten a very sweet taste of power, of knowing what it's like to be in a position where people are afraid of you. And we aren't checked enough because we have been running around on one leg with these allies, with these so-called allies, holding our dumb ass up, putting up with our shit because they are afraid. Indeed, they are afraid of us. They are afraid to be canceled, fired. They're afraid to be called homophobic, transphobic, what have you. This meme here. Being trans isn't a fashion statement. Being gay isn't a get out of jail free card, right? To be a creepy pedophile or something. To dance provocatively in front of kids. We need to be humbled, and best believe it, I believe it's happening. I think it's happening. This happened in Michigan. A sense of betrayal, liberal dismay as Muslim-led U.S. city bans pride flags. Many liberals celebrated when Hamtramck, I think that's how you pronounce it, Michigan, elected a Muslim majority city council in 2015, but a vote to exclude LGBTQ flags from city property has soured relations. In this way, we've become way too leftist and forgotten what rights we actually need. And in other ways, we've seen us become way too leftist and totalitarian because of all the things that we want or that we feel we are owed. Remember when it was considered homophobic to associate this type of culture with being gay? Now it's considered homophobic or transphobic when you don't want to associate with this as a gay or trans person. You're called a pick-me, a bigot.
I mean, is it perhaps also possible that as people start to identify more publicly and assert their rights and take a more prominent place in society, that we could be seeing the traces of a backlash here?
I think that's exactly what you're seeing. One of the things that we analyze in the report is we look at the relationship between Christian nationalist views and support for LGBT rights. And as you might imagine, Americans who have a tendency to support Christian nationalism are far less likely to support the rights of LGBT Americans, in part because of the theological opposition to the idea of really homosexuality and being queer to begin with.
This is a very fringe argument. I honestly don't see much of this. You will go to a pride parade, at least the ones that I've been to, and you'll maybe see 5 of these types of people. And for the most part, they're kind of off on their own, doing their own thing. People are ignoring them. I mean, and you can protest being gay as much as you want. Protest your heart out. I'm still going to be gay. That's not an act. That's just the way that I am. And the issue for most Americans at this point isn't being gay. It's how far we've taken the ideology behind it, right? The gender studies for kids, the drag queens twerking and allowing kids into drag queen brunches, males and female sports, no desire to protect women's spaces, pronoun policing, gender gaslighting, free furries roaming the streets, and BDSM in broad daylight. But again, people are waking up.
I served in the military during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I actually lived in a time where my orientation was oppressed. I don't care to shove it down other people's throats. I don't care to live behind that because that is not my identity. I want to live my freaking life in peace and be left alone. Those of you that are shoving all these pronouns and all this crap down people's throats, you're creating a problem. For those of us that actually fought for gay rights, you're creating a problem.
1 in 4 gay people voted for Trump in 2020, and I have a very strong feeling that it will be even more this time around. But let me know what you guys think. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button because we are pretty much the only lesbian YouTube channel that is constantly doing damage control against the crazy woke left mob. Other than that, I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Love yourselves. Bye, babe.